When 83-year-old Willem Van Pelt climbed into his dusty attic to do a little spring cleaning, he had no idea his entire world was about to be turned upside down. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video. Hidden beneath layers of old blankets and forgotten boxes, he stumbled upon a half-decayed box filled with family photos, sweet memories from his childhood. But there was one photograph that didn't sit right. In it, he recognized his father, his mother, and himself as a baby. But standing next to him was a little girl he didn't recognize. A girl who, according to everything Willem had ever known, shouldn't exist. Confused and uneasy, Willem stared at the photo, his heart pounding. How could this be? His parents had always claimed he was their only child. Growing up, he was doted on, spoiled, given everything he could ever want. And never once had they mentioned a sister. Had they been hiding something from him all these years? And if so, why? Willem couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling in his gut. He had to find out the truth. His parents had long since passed away, but there were still other family members around, some older, some younger, who might know something. Maybe someone could shed light on this mysterious little girl. His first stop was his cousin Claudia's house. She was a couple of years older than him and had spent a lot of time with his parents when they were young. If anyone would know something, it would be her. But when Willem showed her the photo, she just shook her head, genuinely puzzled. "As far as I know, you were always an only child," she said. Her words, meant to be reassuring, only made the pit in Willem's stomach grow deeper. Family member after family member gave him the same response. No one knew anything. Some hadn't even seen the photo before. The mystery girl was becoming even more haunting, a shadow from a past that no one seemed to remember. Just when Willem was about to give up, he made one last visit. To his Aunt Inga, a 95-year-old woman whose mind, though sharp, had started to slip in recent years. Hoping to catch her off guard and get an honest reaction, Willem didn't mention the photo beforehand. Instead, he simply placed it in front of her on the kitchen table. Her reaction was immediate and chilling. "That's Olga!" she blurted out before clapping her hands over her mouth in horror, as if she had just revealed a forbidden secret. Willem leaned forward, his voice steady but urgent. "Who is Olga? Why has no one ever told me about her?" Inga, her eyes brimming with tears, whispered words that sent shivers down Willem's spine. "We promised never to tell you, to protect you." Protect him? Protect him from what? Inga refused to say more, but pointed Willem toward the regional archives, hinting that the answers he sought could be found buried in old records. Still reeling, Willem left her house with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. He wouldn't stop until he uncovered the truth. The next day, Willem dug through dusty archives and crumbling family records. He found his family tree, carefully documented. But something was wrong. According to the documents, his parents, the ones who had raised him, were listed as having no children. His name wasn't there at all. How could that be? Was he not their biological son? Who was he? Desperate, Willem searched further until two pieces of paper tucked inside an old folder caught his eye. On one, he saw the name Olga Pock, and just beneath it, Wilhelm Pock, born February 3, 1939, adopted April 18, 1940. Wilhelm. It was a name his mother had sometimes called him by mistake when he was a boy, a slip he had always brushed off. But now, standing there with trembling hands and tear-blurred vision, he understood the chilling truth. He had been adopted. His life, his identity, had been a carefully crafted lie. And Olga wasn't just a random girl in a photo. She was his sister. Just as Willem stood there, overwhelmed by the truth, his phone rang. It was Aunt Inga. Somehow she already knew he had found the answers. "I suppose you know by now about Olga," she said softly. Her voice carried a sadness that made Willem's heart ache. Inga told him that she had been thinking about it ever since he left. Maybe, after all these years, it was time to tell him everything, the whole truth. She invited him back to her house, and Willem, feeling the weight of a lifetime's worth of unanswered questions, agreed without hesitation. When he arrived, Aunt Inga was waiting by the door. She led him inside, where they sat at the same kitchen table where his world had cracked open just days before. Gently, she explained. Willem and Olga had been born to a Polish family, close friends of Judy and James Van Pelt, the people Willem had always known as his parents. After a devastating car crash claimed their biological parents, Judy and James adopted both children. But something happened in those early days. The tragedy weighed too heavily on the children. Little Olga and baby Willem were overcome with sadness. They couldn't heal while together. Their shared grief only deepened the wounds. It became clear to Judy and James that for the sake of both children, they would need to separate them, to give each a chance at a fresh, happy life. Olga was placed with another family member, and to protect them both from reliving their pain, the connection was buried, names were changed, and memories carefully erased. And then Aunt Inga said something that made Willem's world spin once again. "You know her," she said, a sad smile curling at the edges of her lips. "You've known her for most of your life." Willem blinked, confused. "Who?" he asked, almost afraid of the answer. "Claudia," Inga said softly. "Your cousin, Claudia, is your sister." The room tilted around Willem. His mind raced. Claudia, his sweet, kind cousin, the one he confided in, laughed with, and leaned on during hard times. She was Olga. She had been by his side all along, and neither of them had known. Tears filled Willem's eyes as he realized the depth of what they had lost, and what they had unknowingly preserved. Despite the decades of lies and separation, fate had kept their bond alive. "You must tell her," Aunt Inga said, placing a trembling hand on his. "She deserves to know." Without wasting a moment, Willem rushed to Claudia's house. His heart pounded as he stood at her door. How do you even begin to tell someone something like this? Claudia greeted him warmly, like she always did. But as Willem explained, showing her the photo, the documents, and Aunt Inga's confession, her face changed. First confusion, then shock, and then tears. For a moment, neither could speak. The air between them was thick with emotion. Finally, Claudia stepped forward and embraced him tightly. "It sounds strange," she whispered, her voice shaking. "But somehow, I always felt there was something special between us. I just never knew why." They stood there, holding each other, no longer cousins, but brother and sister, reunited after a lifetime apart. And from that moment on, nothing was ever the same. Today, a year later, Willem and Claudia, or should we say, Wilhelm and Olga, are closer than ever. They visit each other nearly every day, savoring every conversation, every memory, every moment they can rebuild together. Last week, they celebrated their very first official Brother and Sister Day, a tradition they planned to keep for the rest of their lives. Life had thrown them apart, but it also somehow brought them back together. And now, with the truth finally revealed, they are making up for lost time.